Greetings, good people. The Braxtons are back for another season of the shenanigans. Okay, so episode one premiered a couple days ago. I finally got an opportunity to sit through the full episode, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions. What I want you to do is drop down in the comments and share your thoughts and opinions as well. All right, so I want to start off by acknowledging production. So whoever is in charge of production, this was a well produced episode. I think production was doing their thing. I like the format of this show, or this episode, I should say. So I was pleased with that. So the episode opened up with this viral scene when the Braxtons premiered the trailer for season two. This was the opening scene where the sisters are sitting down. Tamar is upset because she received a cease and desist. Trina said that her name wasn't on no cease and desist. Tamar told Toni she didn't have her back. Toni Braxton says she's the heavyweight Toni motherfucking Braxton, and she got up in Tamar's face and told Tamar, "Don't mess with her." Yada yada yada. So we already saw that explosive opener, and then the scene halts, and then they rewind to 3 weeks prior to that explosive incident. All right. So then up next, so I'm gonna do this in two phases. I'm gonna talk about Tamar and Ashlee's sit down and interaction. Then I'm gonna go into Tawanda and Trina's interaction, and at the very very end, I'm gonna show a video that's circulating online. Trina did a TikTok live or something like that where she was addressing some of the comments from the episode and about the situation with Ashlee. And I just want to get your thoughts on it. All right, so let's get into Tamar and Ashlee. All right. So Tamar was asked by production in her confessional why she felt it was important to have Ashlee on her podcast. And she replied saying that she knows what it feels like to be in pain and have no one come to your aid. All right. So this is what Tamar is using her experience um to, I don't want to say as an excuse, but kind of like as an excuse, claiming that she's advocating for her niece Ashlee. All right. I don't know. This all of this is just bad. All of it is messed up. There's so many missing pieces. And no, it's none of our business. But we're just, talking about it. We're discussing what they're displaying online. Tamar says that she went to her family for help whenever she experienced whatever it is that she experienced. I've never heard her outright come out and say what her experience was. I don't recall. I'm not saying she never did, but I don't recall hearing that. But I don't consume a lot of Tamar anyway. Not that she has to, but she just, she speaks about having endured some a traumatic situation, right? And she says that when she went to her family for help, and she was told that they weren't going to help her. Keep in mind this is according to Tamar, and I'm saying that because Tamar doesn't always tell the truth. Straight up and down, I'm gonna say it straight up. Okay, I'm not saying she's lying. I'm not saying she's telling the truth, but Tamar has been known. She has a reputation of just not being truthful, not being honest. So Ashlee, she doesn't live in the U.S., right? And Tamar said that she flew her to Atlanta because she wants her to know that she's there for her. All right. Tamar saying that she's Ashlee's aunt and wants to provide a safe space for her sounds great on the surface to me, right? I think that Tamar definitely has ulterior motives, right? I want to know, this is when this whole situation transpired, this is what I always thought about, even in other situations, right? How can one determine what is a safe space for the person who experienced the trauma? Just because you're related to someone, it doesn't mean that they or their podcast is a quote unquote safe space for you to discuss your trauma. Ashlee needs to work with a professional. I think she has been getting counseling, and I think she should continue to work with more than one professional. And by her working with a professional, it's not only for her to grieve and express herself, but to also learn, some coping skills and some skills and tools for her to navigate through what it is that she experienced, not to get over it, because I personally don't feel that people ever get over any traumatic experience. I think you just learn how to cope, you learn skills, and you learn how to navigate through life having survived a traumatic experience, right? Tamar knows nothing about that, as we can see. And her podcast will offer Ashlee nothing at all. Nothing at all. That's my opinion. So also with Tamar is fighting her own issues every single day, and her unresolved issues manifest in her ridiculous behavior that she displays. She's immature, and because she gets attention for being that way, she has no incentive to grow up. I've said this plenty of times about Tamar. So they go into talking about Lauren, who's Ashlee's sister who passed away. Now, according to Ashlee on her social media, I don't know if you guys got an opportunity to see some of her social media posts and her videos that she's done, like on TikTok and YouTube. She said that her sister Lauren was using drugs to numb the pain that she's gone through, and she shared some graphic details about what her sister Lauren endured. I recall when Lauren passed, because I wasn't aware that Toni Braxton had two nieces by her brother. I thought the brother, for some reason back then, I thought the brother only had one daughter, but apparently he has two, obviously, right? So I remember when Lauren passed and they were like, it was known that they were publicized that they were going to the funeral. I think it was Toni or like a representative of the family said that Lauren passed away from a heart condition. I do remember that. So Tamar then goes on to ask Ashlee, what is she hoping to accomplish? And in the scene, you can just see Tamar's body language. She's stuffing her face with food. She's acting like Ashlee's about to spill some tea. She's leaning in and making these stupid, immature faces. And she's just salivating at the thought of Ashlee telling her story and upsetting her family. And gosh, to me, her behavior is so disgusting at times. And I just don't see the fascination whatsoever. Anyway, now, when she was behaving like this or asking Ashlee what it is that she hoped to accomplish, it brought back to my remembrance how nasty Tamar was towards Iyanla when her situation, okay, was brought up. All right. It's for the sake of YouTube, I gotta watch my words. So do you guys remember that episode when the Braxtons were on those episodes when the Braxtons were on Iyanla, and a situation that happened to Tamar was brought up by Iyanla, and Tamar was so nasty and she just was so disgusting. And it made me wonder, like, how the hell can Tamar help anyone when she didn't want her story being mentioned on a public platform? Like, Ashlee cannot provide anyone with any tools as it pertains to what she endured because she's not being guided properly, right? All this, I want to tell my story to help others. How? How is just telling the story going to help others? Are you giving anyone any tools? No, because you yourself probably are still learning said tools if you're still even going through counseling. Tamar is not who Ashlee should be getting any encouragement from regarding this. And like, as we've seen, Tamar, she operates in mess and it's reflected in every area of her life. Like, this is just all bad. She's not the proper conduit for this whatsoever. And I think a lot of people on social media have reiterated exactly what I'm saying. And it's evident, It's sad. Anyway, so she tells Ashlee strangers are not going to understand. They may identify, but they're not going to understand. So if strangers are not going to understand, why is it imperative for Ashlee to go on Tamar's podcast where her story will be consumed by a bunch of strangers? It makes zero sense. Okay. So when you say that people are not going to understand, what is the objective of having her on the podcast? Is the objective for her to be understood by strangers? Because what good is that going to do her? What's the purpose? What I see in this instance is Tamar wanting to be understood. Tamar wanting to be heard, because she oftentimes says, no one listened to me. People said that they weren't going to help me. No one helped me. No one was there for me when I went through what I went through. So it's obvious that Tamar, in her big age, still feels like she is not being understood or heard, and she's living vicariously through her niece. And this is why Ashlee needs to be in the care of a professional, not her foolish aunt. Okay. And then Ashlee basically says that she doesn't expect anyone's support. And then we switch to the confessional where Tamar was asked by production if she thinks Ashlee is one step closer to healing by telling her story. And Tamar says, nope, I think she's completely regressed. And at this point, I was ready to turn off the TV. I was just like, after she says that, she then goes into saying that her family ignored her and didn't help her when she went through what she went through. And my whole thing is, why did she think that the same family would handle Ashlee any differently, right? Then Tamar reverts to talking about what she went through, which she has done several times at this point in the episode, okay? And to me, that's proof that Tamar's motives have nothing to do with Ashlee's healing. So I'm curious to know how Ashlee feels about Tamar's attempts to quote unquote help her. Um, she seemed to be engaging with her aunt during their little sit down lunch dinner or what have you, but I really want to know like what she, you know, what she's thinking. Like I wonder if she feels if Tamar is being genuine. Well, it's obvious that she's not. I think I saw somewhere online where she stated that she wasn't aware that she was going to be on the show and that she planned to sit down with her aunt, but she wasn't aware that a filming crew would be filming their dinner, but she said it was fine nonetheless. And then she talked to production and she felt comfortable filming. If that's true, it just proves how deceptive Tamar is. Anyway, moving along to Trina. So we're at Trina's house. Okay, Trina is trying to make slushies. Tawanda comes over. She shows up. It's obvious they're going to have a sit down because we've seen previews of this scene. Tawanda is engaged and she's excited. That's all she talks about. So they sit down and Tawanda asks Trina how she feels about the platform that Ashlee has been given. And Trina, she responds, I think she's taking the opportunity that has been given to her, not thinking about the repercussions. I don't disagree with that statement. Okay. The statement I don't disagree with. All right. So Trina says that she's not here to victimize the victim. And Tawanda, she tells Trina that she's a victim too and that she didn't do anything, meaning that the situation wasn't Trina's fault. Okay. I think Tawanda is just attempting to be supportive. I did see on social media after watching the episode, I went onto Twitter just to search the hashtag the Braxtons to see what some people were saying. And after seeing the video that I'm going to show at the end and a couple of comments about Tamar, which I've already written notes for, and Tawanda, Tawanda was being called dumb for, and also Trina was being called dumb, saying that she didn't go through anything. I don't think that's true. I can understand people's frustration or disappointment and disgust with Trina knowing that her spouse did what they did and she still remained with said spouse. Let me ask a question. Trina was married before Gabe, was she not? Because Ashlee has never come out and said it was Gabe. Even though she may have liked some comments on social media pointing out Trina, wasn't Trina married before Gabe? But then you'd have to go back and look at the timeline to see how old she was. Because I know the Braxtons, when they started, I remember Gabe, he had like a sex addiction and he said that he was doing something and disappointed the family. I remember something along those lines that she was dealing. They went to counseling and everything. So is it indeed Gabe? Listen, I'm not being obtuse. I'm just saying, because I said this before when I reviewed the preview, Ashlee didn't directly come out and say any names, right? So we can assume it's Gabe, but do we know for a fact? Can we sit on a stand and say, yes, it's Gabe? No, because we don't have much proof. But when was Trina married the first time before Gabe? And where is that husband? Isn't that the father of the two boys? She doesn't have any biological children with Gabe. Her sons are for another man. Where's he at? Is he alive? They never talked about him. So what if it was the other, like her first husband? Either way, it doesn't make it right. I'm just saying. Maybe it was, I don't know. Listen, I'm never going to admit or pretend that I know something that I don't have hard down proof and facts for. And I did see some people criticizing Ashlee as well, saying if you're not going to tell the full story and be outright with it, you're causing people to be blamed, and we don't know the truth. No, we don't know the truth. That's why we shouldn't speculate. People can assume that it's Gabe. We don't know. At one point, people were saying that it was her own father, Ashlee's father. There were a whole bunch of. It was a mess. I remember when this hit the fan. It was a hot mess. Okay. Let me see where I was. So she basically said that Tawanda basically said that it wasn't Trina's fault. Tawanda, she then says that Ashlee moved out of the country and no one ostracized Ashlee. And Trina responds by saying, my number hasn't changed, but Ashlee's has. So what I heard was once Ashlee moved, she changed her number, making it impossible to get in contact with Ashlee. So I would like to know when this took place. Like, when did she move? And I'm gonna get into why I'm asking that now. Anyway, Ashlee, she took to social media, and Tawanda feels that she wishes that Ashlee would have reached out to Trina instead of taking it to social media. Okay, I can understand that. Trina says that she apologized to Ashlee and embraced her and told Ashlee, if there's anything additional that she needed, she should have just reached out to her. She should reach out to her. So Trina is basically saying, she left the door open to support her. Now, this situation, I think, like I said before, should have been handled by a professional. They both should have gone to counseling and had an unbiased party who was not connected to the family dynamic help them work through this. And once time has passed, and then you get the wrong person in your ear, that's when things get even worse than they already are. People say time heals all wounds, but yes and no. It's what you do in that time. Are you working towards your healing? Are you getting the proper treatment to, like I said, cope with and have tools to navigate through the world, having survived any traumatic situation, right? Um, I don't know. I can't imagine how Trina or Ashlee felt. And it's obvious that Trina did not know what to do because she's not a professional. Even the family. What is the family supposed to really do? The only thing that the family can do is support and point them in the direction of getting professional help. None of these people are mental health professionals or professionals in dealing with trauma, so on and so forth. Like, they're not capable. According to Tamar, they've swept Tamar's situation under the rug, and there's a whole bunch of family secrets. So what would make anyone think that they would be equipped to handle what happened to Ashlee? They've already proven that they're not capable, I guess sometimes people look to family, especially when you're young, you look to family to help you. But I just think that the older people in the family should have taken the initiative to do what was right for the party who was traumatized, and not focus on, oh, well, let's keep this hush hush because we don't want this getting out, because we don't want this to make us look bad. I think that's toxic as hell, and it's stupid. It's counterproductive. Um, so let me see. I put Trina did not know what to do. Talking to a bunch of people who can do nothing for you isn't going to help anything at all. Okay, so Tawanda, she feels that there should have been a reach out on Ashlee's part, expressing that this situation is still weighing on her. Because Tawanda, what she did was she mentioned that they all did shows together, Ashlee included, and they showed flashbacks of all of them, including Ashlee, at Tony's shows, being backup singers and dancers. Tawanda said that they all went on tour together and they went on vacation. And if this was something that was weighing on her still, she should have spoken up about it. I guess that's what Tawanda was trying to say. But again, when you go through a traumatic situation, you don't know what to do. Like, if everybody around you, for some people, is sweeping everything under the rug and making everything seem like, oh, it's okay, you'll get past this, and none of the adults around Ashlee are saying or doing anything. But again, we have limited information, so we don't know what was done, what wasn't done, what attempts were made. We don't know. And it made me wonder about Evelyn, the matriarch of the family. I wonder what role she played in this meeting. Did she intervene and try to help her granddaughter through this? Did she try to help her or Trina seek professional help? Or did she just tell them to keep hush hush? Probably told them to keep hush hush. Anyway, Trina, she says that there are certain things in her confessional. She says that there are certain things that aren't for public consumption, and there are certain things that need to be worked out privately. And I agree. Um, Something this traumatic should be worked out the proper way. I just don't think going to social media and saying I'm telling my story. I see that's reckless to me. You can tell your story however you choose to. Um, but telling your story and what expecting your family to fix it, I don't what are your expectations? I don't know. It's crazy. Um, I do think that professional help should have been a priority when this situation happened. And I don't think that any adult who knew, because apparently everybody knew. Well, yeah, dating back to when Gabe was on the show, everybody knew. So the adults should have taken the initiative to protect the child and to handle this situation delicately instead of sweeping things under the rug so that no one would have to deal with it. That's unfortunate. But again, we don't know what measures were taken when all of this went down. So the episode ends with Ashlee. She's being brought on the live show version of Tamar's podcast. And it's evident that Tamar's need to be in a room full of people showing her, she needs that. She needs to be in a room full of people showing her attention and cheering on whatever it is that she does. I know editing can be misleading. And if you watch the episode like toward the end when Tamar was out on stage and she was talking and then she was getting ready to introduce her niece, you see Ashlee backstage and like she's waiting, to be introduced, and she looks visibly uncomfortable, right? She looks extremely uncomfortable, but again, that could have been from a completely different scene. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to get into this video because I saw this online earlier today, and why can't y'all stay offline? Trina throughout this entire episode was talking about how things should be handled privately, right? Just take a look and a listen. And that is her husband, Vaughn, next to her. Take a look and a listen to what she had to say. Oh, brother. This season is going to be something. All right, here we go.
Keep it for real, 100%. Forget what outside the public says, for real. Okay, I'm going to say this. I cannot negate anyone's feelings in any way, shape, or form. And I will say this. I think that you can never put a time limit on someone's feelings, their emotions, or even their version of what the truth may be to them. But I do wish that the people that were spoken about were able to tell their own version of their story, of their truth, because they're no longer with us.
That's it, because they're dead.
And that's not always fair. That's not always fair. And people have to talk about things when they're ready to talk about them. And yes, you guys are loud, Caleb.
You're loud as hell out there.
But I can't disregard anybody's feelings. I said what I said.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's entitled, and
T. Cannon, I'm a Braxton follower, period. They shouldn't watch y'all if they want to hate or be negative. Well, you know what? But even in that vein, people have a right to their opinion.
Sometimes people watch just so they can.
All right. This season is going to be bad. I just have a strong feeling that this season is going to be bad. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see Trina tell the story of this situation. I would like to see Trina come out and talk about what transpired and what happened. And she doesn't have to, but I would like to see it. I would like to see it. I would, because everyone is just, I don't know, everyone is trying to play defense. You know what I'm saying? Listen, this is only episode 1. I'm just gonna save certain opinions until we see the season unfold. We saw Toni Braxton. You know, she is so far removed from those two scenes. She's pretty much meeting up with a manager because she wants to get into producing and writing movies. We saw Tawanda doing her little acting, and the internet didn't care about Tawanda's acting. But so far, this was an interesting episode. We just have to wait and see how everything unfolds. All right, so y'all drop down in the comments and y'all share your thoughts. I'm signing off, but I will be back and I will talk to you later.